Welcome at last to the real show with no name. We're a little late getting started today, but you know, important things that happen at the radio station. And I say this is the real show with no name because my traditional co-host, Michael Chiara, is back again. And I also have Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nicosia floating in and out. And I'm Bob Going, of course.
Hello, Willow. Hello, Luca. Those are my dogs.
That was Michael. And of course, those were his dogs. Oh, Chip.
That's good, Chip.
It's the Wonder Dog, right?
Chip the Wonder Dog. It's a wonderful dog.
So you want to get into it, Bob, since you don't have 2 hours?
What? Jeepers. Michael, you're the guest here. You know, you got to wait for me to say something. Michael, you got anything to say?
I got a lot to say.
All right, go ahead.
As you know, the fiasco that's been going on...
Try using the microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. As you know, the fiasco that's been going on up in the county concerning the stipend and everything, I think there's a legitimate question that has to be asked. Where'd it come from?
Yeah.
And I say that for a reason. When I pulled this off the computer, and I'm not sure this is even correct, you go to page 23 here with the first...
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at... This had to do with the local laws. It have to do the attachments, and it had the schedule. If you go to page 23 here, Bob, I want you to see it so you know what I'm making this up. It says, it goes right here, and it talks about bonuses. Did the public know that there's going to be a bonus amount given? All full-time employees listed are going to get it, and all part-time employees listed in this other particular item, they have appendices here, are going to get bonuses.
That's a bonus in lieu of raise.
Right, but it's a bonus. And as you know, there's an increment schedule which has been attached. And as you know that there, for instance, and I'm not picking on anybody, but just so people know, apparently in 2016, the base salary of the sheriff went up by $12.50. Also, the county clerk, the county treasurer, and they went up in 2015. But the sheriff, I believe, went up in 2015 too. And there's a whole group of people, as you can see here. There's also a huge longevity schedule in here, and all kinds of little goodies that are in here. But what I wanted you to see that for, Bob, because what happened? Apparently, there was an amendment given at that particular meeting. So you got this all printed again. Now, you remember what you saw on page 23, right, Bob?
Right.
Okay, let's go to page...
Bonus.
Let's go to page 23 again, Bob. If we can find it here. Here it is. Now, I want you to look at this again. Now, if you look at the bottom, all of a sudden, C appears.
Yeah.
And what does C say, Bob?
It says, a legislator who is appointed chairperson to a legislative standing committee shall receive $1,250 annually for said appointment.
Now, where'd that come from?
That's a good question.
Should we be told as taxpayers here, where did all these ideas come from?
Well, first of all, it's illegal.
Yeah, that's what
you can't raise their salary during their term of office.
Should there have been a public hearing?
Yeah, of course there has to be a public hearing.
Isn't that the proper way to do it?
Yes.
Doesn't this look like this was just... Would you ever have seen this? I happen to have read every word in here. Would you ever have seen that?
No.
Of course not.
But
I heard this morning on the radio that everybody knew about this. When did that happen?
Who's everybody? Everybody on the Board of Legislators?
Mike
McKinney.
Well, I know Mike McKinney was the one who made the
when did these meetings take place? If that's the case, then I have to say shame on the public for not appearing at these meetings and protesting. I guess they're pretty mad now. But when did we know about this?
When did you know about it?
I had heard a rumor. That's the only reason I went to the meeting, because I said, this can't be happening.
See, everybody knew there was a rumor.
Okay? So the question is, they talk about transparency. They have as much transparency as a brick wall. All right? And I'm not happy about this, because when I read through all this, I said, well, what changed? And then I found this. And I said, that's interesting, isn't it? And I want to know whose idea it was, why was it put in, and what's the purpose of it? When we served up there, and over the years, as you know how many meetings I went to, when they chaired something, it was part of their duties, just like the two editorials said. There was one also yesterday in the other paper, Up County. Okay? So the question becomes, when is there any integrity to the point when you represent the people with the trust they gave you? I think the people that voted like this should resign. That's my own personal opinion. I think they should get their papers together today and resign.
Now, this pass? First of all, this was, I don't know, was it laid on the table?
Well, that's the whole point.
How was
this
this
the
done
original? Were
procedurally?
these the original papers, or are there new papers floating around?
Let me just interject something here. When they were negotiating the new budget,
Right.
all those things that you're talking about were negotiated to put in the budget in the future years. If I recall reading it or listening to it somewheres, the stipends and everything else were in the budget.
We're stuck in the budget.
We're stuck in the budget.
Where?
Snuck in the budget.
Stuck in the budget.
Where?
I don't know. I don't have the budget, but
I have it. It's right here. Show me where it is.
But those things were supposedly in the budget for next year and the year after.
You read that they were going to get a stipend.
Yes,
You did.
yes.
Where did you read it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh. It's outrageous.
It's more than outrageous because I can't find it where it is unless it's hidden. I can't find it in the budget. I found other little goodies in the budget. There's a part-time personnel director in the budget. Did you know about that?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
He's an insider.
Yeah, he's an insider. He's got inside information. Did you know about it?
No.
Did you know about it,
No.
Bob?
The first I heard about it is you mentioned it just before the show.
Right. Did you think the public on the street knew about it, Mr. Nikosha?
Probably not.
Okay, you think that somebody should have known about it?
Yes, they should have.
Okay.
The person, I'm trying to remember who told me this. That
Don't throw somebody in if you're not supposed to.
No, I'm not sure who it is because I talked to a few different people. Everything you're talking about, I was told weeks ago that this was going to be in the budget and this was going to happen. Even the part-time personnel director.
Right. You were told.
I was told
And all this
that was-
insurance package also?
Yes, it was all.
Really?
It was going to come to fruition.
Well, why don't you ask some of the legislators when they received their package? Did they even know about this?
They must have.
If that's the case, then what you're saying is they all decided, all of them, did they all decide to put this in?
They must have.
How could they when 3 of them voted no?
Well, there were things, as I understand it, when this local law was presented at committee, there were things taken out by the committee. The committee was composed mostly of the people who ended up voting no, right?
I only know a couple of people around the committee. I don't know who else. That's why I'm asking. Where did this originate from?
Most of it was originated.
Because you obviously have
after-
inside information.
After the resolution was defeated.
When?
It was
Which one? Which resolution?
last week, or the stipend and everything else. Half of the stuff was after it was defeated, or no, it was voted on, and then an amendment was made to put the stuff
it in. Yeah.
And then that's when a couple
And
people
when-
who voted
and-
originally voted against it.
Okay. And where did it come from?
It had to have originated in the county
Mr.
executive's office because the county executive puts together the budget.
The amendments, I believe.
Right.
Well, he's telling us something I wasn't aware of. I didn't know it was in the budget. I wish you showed me the line item where it is.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't seen the budget. and
Well, it's
I-
right here. Why don't you show me the line item of where you think it is?
You're asking me to find something on
Well,
the
you
spur
told
of
me
the
it's in
moment?
here.
I'm-
It should be under, where is this? It should be under the legislature, right?
I don't know.
I'm not familiar with the county's budget, so I don't know where to look for it or how to find it in there.
Well, it's all news to me. I never knew about it. I heard rumors, and of course, being the curious person I was, I went up and watched the meeting. I was the only citizen there, by the way. And I think it's outrageous. I think it's beyond outrageous. I think the public thinks it's beyond outrageous, just like the $10 fee, which I spoke on that.
Yeah.
All right?
Or $20.
Right, or 20, or whatever it may end up being when you're told it's never going to change. I told you what happened in the city. The situation is, you think that took gall to give themselves a stipend, Mr. Nikosha?
Definitely.
Did you speak
definitely.
out about it, that you're against it, when you knew about it weeks ago?
No, I didn't, because I don't normally go to county meetings.
You're here, on the air.
Well, this is the first time the question has come up. I thought
All right.
everybody knew it.
Well, you thought, did you know it?
No.
we're acting as if I heard the call on the radio station and everybody knew it. Well, then you know what? If I knew it, I apologize because I'm in another world here.
Yeah. No, I did not know it. I have not spoken to
You talked
anybody
to
in the
anybody that
legislature.
knew it?
No, nobody at all.
Okay. So obviously you were one of the only people that knew it.
Jim's an insider. You know.
And he is an insider. You are. Now we're going to call you the insider.
But he's also a journalist, so we can't reveal all our sources.
Out of respect that you would. I won't reveal mine.
All right.
So let's get to the other aspect, because we're hearing what a great job was done on the budget, right?
Yeah, right.
Now, Bob will explain, and I worked with him, he'll explain why there's one city in 10 towns. Everybody went up with the city of Amsterdam, tentatively.
Right.
We went down apparently 9.93 cents a thousand. This is going to be close.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So they did such a great job, and you know that's because of the equalization rate.
Right.
Now, if they did such an outstanding job, I would like to know what would happen if they did a mediocre job, because let me read this. Town of Amsterdam, I'm rounding these, went up $4.10. This is per thousand. Okay? Canajahari, 67 cents. Charleston, 42 cents. Town of Florida, which is destroyed all the time, is 80 cents. Think about it. Town of Glen, $2.30. Town of Minden, 41 cents. Town of Mohawk, 53 cents. Town of Palatine, 142. Root, 41. And St. Johnsville, 230.
What's Amsterdam again?
We went down apparently 93 cents.
93 cents.
All right? And that's because of the equalization rate. Now, if you're doing such an outstanding, stellar, wonderful job, which probably took about 5 minutes, why are all these rates going up? The appropriations went up by $730,000. Is that doing an outstanding job?
And more than half of that is this insurance package they just gave away at the last
Well,
meeting.
that's my other point, which I'm glad that we brought that up. Did anybody do a cost analysis on this particular thing?
Don't look at me.
Why, yeah, because you had the inside information, so you must know who did the cash analysis.
Well, I assume that's what the county executive and the county treasurer
Should
do.
that have been presented to the public? What is that? Would you have any idea what this is going to cost?
Well, we got Barbara Wheeler on the line. Maybe we'll get some information here. Barbara, how are you?
I can't hear.
Hi, and how are you?
Hey, we're just great. Okay, just hang on a second while Michael gets his headphones on. All right, we're good. All right, go ahead.
Good morning, Michael. You always bring such love and passion and insight to the community.
Really?
I do, yes, and I want to thank you.
So
all.
maybe you could explain to us, how much is this going to cost?
And well, here's the thing, and the non-bargaining budget and all of the allocation for that is not in the budget. But
Would you say that again? It's not in the budget?
Please, Bob, if I can just finish, I need to catch Nicole Antonucci at the recorder. We have had some missed time, and I have to get over there and catch her because I want to get her to get the information, because unfortunately, while I can even catch your podcast, there are so many people that do get their information from the recorder. So I would be happy to go on the show. And Michael is a deep, rich source of information in the public, and I'm sure that Matt will communicate with you. I would love to communicate with you.
Well, you're right
Bob,
on now. Why don't you communicate with us? Barbara, stop. Barbara.
I'm not going to hang up.
No, would you stop for a second, Barbara? Stop for a second. You could just tell us one item. On an estimate, what is this going to cost?
On an estimate, that's why I took it out, because it's not only a colossal thing, it's a potential. It's 30 people, and that's possible right now.
Wait, I'm talking about the whole schedule, Barbara. We're
talking about the health insurance?
No, I'm not talking about more than that. I'm talking about the bonuses, the increments, and all that. What's it going to cost?
I'm going to find it right now, so I will have way more answers after today.
But if that's the case, and I have to be really cute about this, if that's the case, why do we have it at all? It should have been held up.
I so didn't call it the fight. I know that one allocation is $60,150. We passed that. But going forward, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So
then why was it put up at all? It should never have been presented.
I still will. I'll know a lot more information at the end of today, which I'd be happy to call you and go on Bob's show at some point. to answer all these questions.
Well, I'd love to be here when you came on the show if he would allow me.
That would be fine. Absolutely. But I just pulled up into the recorder, and I have to go talk to Nicole.
What's Nicole got
Thank you so much
got
for
to
taking
do with
my
all
call.
this?
I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, now
Okay,
let's get
thank
back
you.
to the
Bye-bye.
budget here.
Thank you. Okay, goodbye.
Do you think that's a great job when all these rates went up, that we're overtaxed, Bob?
I think we're overtaxed this year. Oh, I'm sorry. Go give me my headphones back. Then. All right.
Gavin, what do you think? You think that it's okay?
Well, what we were promised isn't what we're getting, is it?
No, it's not.
Well, I think the only thing he promised.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember them promising is that our taxes, the city taxes, weren't going up. That's the only thing I remember him saying. He said they went up under the 3%, and in order to go under the 3%, they had to raise the registration fee. That
Are you for the registration fee? I'm
of
sure
course
you're
not. Of course not.
And let me ask anybody out there, I'm not a construction man. Let's say it's 400,000. What are you going to accomplish with 400,000? Really?
Not much.
Right.
Not
So,
much.
doesn't that tell you that you're going to hear next time? Since I don't know if you remember years ago. You remember Mayor Villa? Okay. He had Dr. Reeb, and you may not know this, but a few of us dinosaurs, old timers, remember he was a professor down at Albany State, and I believe he did this. He wrote a dissertation on the city of Amsterdam. Maybe Bob remembers, and the bridges and the roads, etc. Maybe you remember it. Maybe you don't. There's been a controversy on this, and if you really want to know something, I should have brought it in. When we were meeting in the 1990s on the governmental committee to change the government and have this and that, a few of us agreed, a few of us did. After the charter, which they destroyed, the one I was on, John Pep, they had hearings, and John Pep indicated, and John's a great guy.
He was
John,
an engineer, right?
Yeah, John worked
John's
for the
an
country
engineer.
for years. He said that this originated, I believe, in the 1920s for them taking over the roads because of a tax on gasoline. And he would know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea, everybody asks, well, I got a list. I didn't bring it because I didn't think we were going to get into that. I have a list of all the roads. There's Sandy Drive, in
Right.
the city of Amsterdam.
Right.
And there's the rest. Well, they want to know how they get the. I always ask that question up there. Give me the number how you got to 5250. Where did you get it? 5250 per mile. $5,250 they get a mile for the snow. Where did you get the number from? Give me an analysis. And of course, only one supervisor really said he had an idea. Another one started yelling and saying that it's not enough. They have to buy trucks, et cetera, et cetera. But should we know that? I mean, when is it going to come to a point?
It is now and always has been a completely arbitrary figure.
That was my point.
Right.
Did you have a dartboard? Hey, snow dartboard. So we threw something.
And it only had increased numbers on it.
There
There were no decreased numbers.
Well, I will say this. When it was really brought up, and I was a pain in the neck about it, but I am, there was a couple of supervisors that said they'd be willing to give some of it up. I think because
that's
we
true.
were the supervisors. And again, maybe I mentioned it. I asked, let's have individual contracts, which I think they do anyway, with those particular towns to lower your portion, which would take it out of the burden of the taxpayers. Of course, that didn't happen. All right? There are so many ways you can do things. Mr. Nicosia, since you've gone over this, do you believe that they should have added new positions like the 2 new ones in Public Works?
Of course not. Of course
Okay,
not.
so could they have gotten that money? When I did my analysis, there was 300 and some odd thousand, which right there they could have used for the bridges and the roads. Instead, we have to increase personnel.
Well,
Why do we
that's it,
need?
yeah.
Why do we need for the executive's office someone who is going to be a front man or someone that's going to be a communications specialist? Tell me.
There's no good reason at all. There's no good reason for. Look, if you're going to raise the taxes, don't go doing what they're doing and saying, well, we got all these state mandates, we can't help it. Medicaid's going up, and this is going up.
That's all I hear.
That's all you hear. But in fact, virtually the entire increase in the expenditures this year is from this additional health insurance that they're giving all the part-time
But we
employees.
couldn't even get a number.
and
It's
for all the
ridiculous.
additional personnel they're
But
putting
it's
on.
ridiculous. If you're voting on something, shouldn't you know the economic impact? You get it after the fact. Oh, maybe we don't know yet.
As I said a couple of weeks ago, they could have mailed in their votes on this budget.
Well, I can tell you this:
for all they thought about it.
When Dominic last year headed finance, he made us meet. Meet
Yeah.
almost every night at 4 or 5 o'clock and brought every department head in, and it was open to the public. That's transparency.
Right.
You tell me, Mr. Nicosia, when they had those type of meetings here on this budget, the new legislature.
Why are you asking me?
Because you apparently had all the inside information and knew all this. I did. I must have missed these meetings.
Our inside information, when we get it, is secret. I get mine from Jim, and Jim gets them from wherever his secret sources are.
It's a double blind test. So that way
double
nobody
blind
knows.
Okay.
Nobody knows.
Not, you say, well, you're picking on. No, I'm not picking on. I love Jim Nicosia. He should have been mayor. I'm the only one who voted for you.
I voted for Babe.
I
voted
was
for
before,
Babe.
but I voted for Jim in the last election. Here's the point. The point is, I don't believe they ever had any open meetings on this where they brought department heads in. They may have done it privately. All right? And that's not right. Did you know I had to get a budget because I asked for budgets. I go into that. And I went through it page by page. And, of course, they're going to say that old supervisors were terrible and they did all these nasty things. And they were
There might be an answer on the telephone over there.
Well, good. Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
we got a phone call. Yeah. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I have a question.
Hello, Mr. Dibus.
Mr. Chiara. I have a question. I have not seen the county budget. I only know what you folks have been talking about relative, I think you said, for the vehicle tax, $400,000.
I rounded it up, I guess.
Oh, okay. So it's less than 400,000, but greater than 350. Would
Well,
that
I
be
think
a fair
they've been
statement?
throwing around 370, I think, but who knows? You're
Okay,
guessing
so
by
it's
how many
$10 a pop.
vehicles you might get. Okay.
Well, they also haven't decided whether it's going to be $10 or $20, and I suppose
It
that
hasn't
makes a
even been
difference.
written yet, according to a
Right.
bunch of people, so we
Right.
don't even know, do we?
No.
Well,
Okay, Dave.
I just like do some simple mathematics here, and we'll use 350 just to be amenable with it. 350,000, $10. That's 35,000 vehicles. Is there that many registered vehicles?
This is a
in Montgomery
two-year.
County?
This is a 2-year program, I guess, because they keep
Well, wait a
bandying
minute.
about it's $5
If it's a
bucks.
two-
Well, that's
if
how
it's
you
a-
register, right?
Pardon?
You register every 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why I believe
Oh,
it's
so
a
that would
2-year
mean
program.
that only half the vehicles
Who knows?
would come in 1 year, and the other half of the vehicles would come in the next
You'd
year.
have
Yeah,
to have
more
the
or less.
numbers. I don't have the numbers, but let's assume whatever. And I have to commend you. That was an excellent letter to the editor.
Oh, that thing? Well, bear in mind, Mike, you were on that same ad hoc committee that I was on.
Yeah, I can say so.
And we kind of laid it out, and those numbers just don't add up. I'm sorry.
But let's get to your vehicle point, Dave.
Well, I mean, that's 35,000 vehicles. Is there that many vehicles in Montgomery County registered?
Well, you got also the $20 fee if you got commercial vehicles. And as you know, there was questions asked: Is it a motorcycle? Is it a
On a
tractor?
best day.
I think that's a conceivable number. I don't. There's 50-some thousand people live in the county. Most of them are not children. If you add all the commercial vehicles in with the private vehicles, that's probably not unreasonable.
Well, Dave, let me ask you a question. Do you think that fee is always going to stay at $10?
Let's see. Do I think the moon is made of green cheese?
Okay.
No.
All right. Because, it was sort of a comments made that it's never going to go up.
Well, my question is, if such an outstanding job, which our county executive got so excited over, ever notice he's so excited? Didn't every legislator know that this vehicle tax that was in the budget, how it was going to work?
You'll have to ask them.
Don't you think there should have been, maybe a brief outline, a draft of this? Well, they do have a chance to shoot this thing down because there is a local law that needs to be passed. But don't you think, since it was so transparent and such an exciting thing to be part of, that maybe there was an outline of this local law? And don't you think maybe if there was such a document, which I'm sure there was, that it should have described how some of the people who live in the city of Amsterdam who don't have but, 0.8 of a mile of county road, how they would benefit by this, since they, after all, do own those vehicles and live in the county of Montgomery. But I guess it's another, as I said to you, Mike, you know what the first rule of magic is, don't you?
Yes, I do. I look, Dave.
Oh, look again. There it is. Look over there. Thank you for your compliment. And, the story's out on what's going on with the city. I just don't know how we can run a city if we don't know what the...
I don't know how we can run any of these governments. I think it's being run on maybe the money's coming from North Korea. It's most of it's
maybe it's coming from the moon that's made of green cheese.
I don't know. I think we got to... You know what? You got to take an interest in this and find out what's going on. And here's where I find the problem is with all of this, and even considering this stipend, which is absolutely idiotic, and health insurance for part-time employees, and people are going to argue that, you're being horrible about it, this and that. But if you looked at the list, there's a lot of individuals on that particular list. And I know when the city, to my knowledge of, when you were part-time, you knew you did not get health insurance.
Right.
Remember, Ed, when the people on the board wanted it, they were voted out of office. All right?
Also remember, Mr. Obama, President Obama, and the Congress voted in Obamacare. So those folks, be covered by insurance. And in fact, a lot of industries have said, well, the heck with you. If you're not meeting full-time status, you still can go get insurance under Obamacare. So, wow, we are really getting to be a liberal county. I thought we were conservative.
So did I. I'm embarrassed to be in a liberal county.
Say again, Michael?
I said I'm embarrassed to be in a liberal county.
No, we are.
What I want to know, Dave, and we discussed this, and maybe it's redundant again, and it does with the city. Do they ever do a cost analysis of what it's going to be like, or maybe like 2 and 3 years from now? Do they plan ahead, or is it all give me a Band-Aid and see what happens?
Well,
we're hoping.
It's probably their past Band-Aids. Just tell me where we can bury the people.
Well, not that. If I was in the town of Florida right now, and I know how much I paid because of the horrible school and what they've done with the taxes, and I looked at this and I said, I'm going to tack another 80 cents on my taxes. Now, it's not 80 cents. It's 80 cents per thousand, and I know how some of them are assessed. I would not be happy. Now, let me ask you a question, Dave, since you were a supervisor. Do you think that any of the gang of 5 that voted for the stipend are going to get reelected?
I would hope not.
It's not just a stipend. It's the stipend plus the health insurance.
Plus the whole everything concern.
Well, at one time, wasn't that the big concern in the city of Amsterdam when the older people had the health insurance?
Right,
part of their,
said it. They got voted out of office.
Right, they got voted out of office. So now we get these 5 or 6, I don't know, legislators who I'm sure I'm going to speak for them, but they must have done their job. They must have realized what it was going to cost.
You know what? I say they did.
No, I don't believe so.
I don't believe they did. I don't think they even looked. I don't think they even had it. I don't think they knew it all.
No. All they knew was...
Ask them if they know what the meaning of leveraging money is.
Well, okay.
There might be 1 or 2 people on the current board of legislators who understand that.
Well, shouldn't this teach us a lesson?
Some of the other agencies,
is
such
there
as the Cornell Cooperative Extension, such as Office for the Aging, where they can give, perhaps, for every $1 that they allocate to these 2 agencies, they get back in return $4. No, they keep cutting them. And you know that, Michael. You advocated for it.
I did. I admit that. I would do it again. So the point is this.
Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense if you give me $1 and I get 4?
Right. Let me bring a point up I think that I'm hearing underneath. I was at the supermarket early on Saturday morning, and I was stopped by somebody who's attuned to this, very bright guy. And he says to me, let me tell you something. Here's why this new form of government is good. And he was right. assume we didn't have this new form of government with no veto power. There would have been no recourse. It would have went right through. At least he is in a position, and I say he, the chief executive, that you have another arm out there, which I don't think he would dare not veto it, that can do that. And it's probably going to go down. Just think about that for a minute. It was always, here we put it through, like they did with certain items up there, which no longer exists, and this is what they did. Okay, now you've got an arm that stops it. Sure, there's flaws, but they should be fixed. You know, people say, the charter doesn't work and this does. Yes, it does. It's a baseball team. You put a good team on the field, you win. You put a bunch of bozos there, that's exactly what you're going to get.
I gotta ask you a question.
Well, being a firm believer
Why is everyone
in the
looking
story,
at me?
being a firm believer in the story about the Greek mythology, Pandora,
Right.
the lid got slammed just in time. So there is still hope left that the stipends and all this bull, whatever you would like to call it, gets voted down, and Matt will veto it, and it does not get overridden. And the second thing, where there's still hope, that the law with the vehicles, that does not get drafted, that gets shot down. And then maybe those legislators and Matt would have to sit down and do their job the proper way, rather than the, look over there way it was done.
Well, let me interrupt all of you for a moment, just to mention that this is WCSS 1490 on your dial in Amsterdam, New York, and you're listening to the show with no name. Our special guest is Michael Chiara, and our special pundit on the line is Dave Davis.
Ooh, that's scary.
I got to ask.
By the way, the Elk Lodge Halloween Parade is this Saturday, and it is open to all comers. So I would expect the show with no name to be there without their masks.
Can you tell the difference?
Dave,
David, he wants to ask you a question.
are these stipends legal?
Are they legal?
Yeah.
I don't know what the charter says about setting the wages and stipends.
Is it
but
is it a one-time stipend?
I'm going to go way out on a limb, and you know about the word assume, that you can't do it while you're sitting there. You got to do it for the next bunch that comes in. But then again, do you think any of those folks really read the charter, start to finish?
Well, it's not just a charter.
It's
State law is pretty specific on the subject. Legislators cannot increase their financial package during their term of office, which these guys just did.
Well, shouldn't they have got some legal advice from the county?
Do you think they even cared?
Well, they
Where
should.
would that have come from?
They should care.
Where would that have come from?
We're paying high taxes. We should expect that.
But where would it have come from?
Would it come from Corporation Council, the county Corporation Council,
County attorney.
Oh, wow.
county attorney?
Well, I'm sure since these legislators and the executive, they all did their homework and they were told that this was a legal thing to do.
You think
Don't
they
you
did their
think?
homework?
I don't
Or
know how
was it
much
another
homework they
case
could have
of
done
look over there?
since the amendment was put up at the meeting.
I don't know. I agree, Bob, on this. But I guess we'll never get to it. All we're going to get now is the spin doctors on it, because somebody knew that it was a big mistake, and they were really taking a task for it. But people got to remember, it can't be, and then because remember, they got 3-year terms, which is ridiculous. That's something I did not like in the charter, wanted to amend it, but had no backing. The thing is, I don't want the people to forget this. They got to remember it, because if somebody asked me Saturday night, another person called me who used to be involved and said, if they did this, what else was done that we don't know about? That's a very serious question. What else don't we know about?
I don't know.
We don't know because we don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
You know?
But we got transparency. How many times have you heard that?
Well, they mean that
Too many. That's TOO many times. If this is so transparent, how come there's so many questions?
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're just somebody who they wish would go away. How easy would it have been if some of us went away?
Well, remember, Michael, as I said to you on a number of occasions, I don't have to live in Amsterdam. I choose to live here. but it's getting awful hard to choose to live here.
Well, that's
Gentlemen, I have some important things to do. Not that this show is not important, but thank you for your time.
okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David, for calling.
Now, do you want to shift gears on this, Bob, and go over the ballot?
Oh, wait a minute. I got another call. Got another call here. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Hello, could you mention the names of the legislators one more time who voted for these stipends and health insurance so everybody can put them on their do not vote for list?
Well, I can tell you who did not vote for it. Who did not vote for it are Joe Isabel, Barbara Wheeler, and John Duchesne.
So you
Who
had
did vote for it?
And everybody else but one voted for it. Who was absent?
Mr. Whites. Is it Ryan Whites? That's his name. Whites.
One of the fellows
Yeah.
who was
Because
Okay.
he wrote a letter to the editor. But I also like
He
to
wrote a
know
letter to the editor saying what?
that it was insane or something.
No, that he was against it.
Yeah, but you know
Okay.
what? I'd like to really know where this originated from. But let's go on. I'll give you the
Is
names.
that a good enough answer, sir?
Well, I'd like to have the names.
Well,
which
Jack,
everybody-
let me tell you the names, okay? You had the chairman, which is Mr. Quackenbush. You had Terry Beniak. You had Bob Pertell, and I'm very disappointed in him. You had Mr. Kelly, and you had, who's the other? Roy Diamond.
Yep.
Thank you.
Those are the big five.
Okay, now, when is Matt supposed to veto this or
He
not
has
veto
so many,
this in its
matter of fact,
entirety?
it's got to be close.
He's got 15 days to veto
No, I think
it.
he's got, may have, well, I assume he'd veto it immediately.
Well, if he doesn't, he's going to go from some people's hero to everybody's zero.
Ooh. Well, I almost know he's going to veto it. How could he not veto it?
I
Seriously,
don't
how
see
could
how
he
he
sit
could
there
not
and
veto
not veto it?
Yeah.
He's
got
going to
to.
veto it. There's no question about it. And I'd like to read his veto message.
You'd like to write his veto
No, I
message.
will want to write his veto message. Because what I think will happen is they will go over this again and really get stringent on it and stuff that probably wasn't done before. Because this came from somewhere.
Absolutely.
I know where the amendment came from.
Well, thank you, guys.
Well, wait a minute. But tell us,
Okay,
Mr.
okay,
Coach
Jack.
has all the information.
All right, take care.
If I'm not mistaken.
This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. You should know better than trying to get a straight answer from our female county legislator. I find it kind of humorous that she has to cut the call short to talk to the reporter from the recorder to set her straight. Don't we have a public relations director for the county?
We have a new position, which they
And shouldn't he-
funded.
If she gives the reporter from the recorder the same explanation she gave you, then heaven help us all.
I just want to know fundamental issues. What's it going to cost? Where did it come from? And why? And who knew what? Apparently, only a few people knew.
Well, you're going to have to wait till somebody tells her. Have a good day.
Okay. Now, Mr. Nicosia, you're going to tell us you knew about that.
No, the amendment was presented by Mr. Quackenbush, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. He
According to
presented
the
that.
paper.
Yes, he did. But what? See, he had a sheet of paper in his hand. Of course, he had a sheet of paper in his hand, and they did. But what was on the sheet of paper?
Whatever the amendment was.
Well, if you look at what's on the computer, you saw. Well, what he said was, and I'm going to not verbatim.
They presented
Somewhere.
the amendment
I was there.
after
Right.
the.
And what he said was, I want to put everything back. Now, what everything back was, they knew apparently, because I'm sitting there, I don't know.
I
And then
gather
speeches were made. The only
yeah.
reason you could know it, there were speeches made by the three that voted no, saying they couldn't support the stipend. So that's when you knew that something was going on, really.
Yeah. Well, apparently it had been discussed in committee, at the committee meeting.
What committee meetings? I'd love to know what committee meetings.
The finance committee meeting.
Really?
Personnel.
Was it? Then I got to go up and foil the minutes to that meeting,
Yes, you do.
if they exist.
Of course they exist.
Really?
Why wouldn't they?
Okay.
We have a transparent government.
Yes, it's really.
We got another call here.
Wow.
This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mike. I'm kind of upset that on the county level, in fact, the city is very self-sufficient. But I get to vote for sheriff. I get to vote for the county clerk, and both those positions, both political parties made sure that they had no opposition on the ballot. I'm outraged by that. I'm also outraged that because I live in the first ward, that with this new county legislator, the system that they got, even though I voted for Mr. Pertell, I don't like the way that he got in there because there was a Republican that was elected. I believe that a Republican like Mr. Cadell, who's my neighbor and friend, should have gotten that job. I think I can't believe they got flaws in the system. There's a flaw in the system, Mike, that I can sign a petition and then not vote for the individual. There's something that has to be done around here. Because I'm so fed up. I left the Republican Party. I became an independent. The heck with the Democrats. The heck with the Republicans.
Conservative is where you got to go.
The what?
You got to be a conservative.
Well, I don't know. Conservative kind of lines up with the Republican Party, and the liberals kind of side up with the Democrats. I just want to vote for who I think is the best person for the job. I'm tired of all these placards getting sent to me, knocking Tatzik down or something. George Amador, we seem to know about him anyway. I'm fed up with the whole thing or so. But they get these pay increases. They hope that they get elected, so they get these pay increases and benefits, and it's not right. We should decide whether these people deserve pay increases or not.
Hello. What I had suggested for the city charter, and it didn't go anywhere, they said that was ridiculous and should never happen. I wanted, before anybody elected got a raise, to go even a step further. I wanted it on the ballot a few years before the new people took office. I wanted the people to say what they should be paid, not themselves. And
right. I talked with former Mayor Perillo, and I believe that he told me he was getting a salary of about $28,000 a year.
That is
and
true.
Look at the population. He had a greater population than it is. Everybody's looking for the gravy trade now, and it's ridiculous.
You're right, Chet. We have to go to sauce. I was just being smart. But anyway, Chet, why don't you run?
Well, in the future, we'll have to wait and see how things are going. I'm looking on November to see if that passes in the city, whether we're going to have 2 aldermen at large.
If I get time, I'm going to read the ballot, because I got a ballot, because I hope it doesn't get confused to people how it's worded. Okay.
Well, you know what ticks me off, Mike, is you got some people saying if they don't understand it, they're going to vote no. If you don't understand something, don't vote yes or no. Leave it blank.
But, Chet, if people might think if they just leave it blank because they wanted to vote no, they have to realize there's yes and no here, little circles. You have to make a decision. If you turn it over, that's your business. But don't think if you turn it over, it automatically negates it, because it does not. Because there's 3 big propositions here from the state, which are beauties.
Well, okay, vote what you can do, but if you don't understand something, you don't. It's the same thing. You got a person running unopposed. That's nice.
And whose fault is that,
I'm
Chet?
against it or
Chet,
so like that.
Whose fault is that they
run unopposed? A write-in candidate, you could vote for Popeye as a write-in candidate.
And I might.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings.
Yes, okay. Anyway, you want to go over this quick?
Yeah, okay.
I went got the ballot. The ballot, of course, on the front is the governor and the controller and all that other stuff that's going on. It's not difficult. You got to turn it over. There are propositions. And here's the kicker. Don't get confused with numbers. Okay, because we had number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's been renumbered for proposals. The state has the first 3. Number 1, they're asking for permission on redistricting. Number 2, this is the state. Then I guess they want electronic distribution of the bills, no more of the paper, that they have stacks of paper if they what they're talking about.
What, they're going to get rid of the legislative document room? I used to work there.
Well, I think they didn't know that, so we have to vote this down. Anyway, then there's the Smart Schools Bond Act for $2 billion.
Oh boy, throw that out the window. That is so bad. This is so bad. This is so that they can spend $2 billion.
Let's hear from the school board member.
To buy equipment for all the students. They're going to buy them laptops and tablets for the students that will be obsolete in about a year. Okay, and they're going to borrow the money to do that.
Let's hear a comment from the school board.
What do you think?
Well, I don't disagree that once you buy it, it's already obsolete. You know, we've spent quite a bit of money in the district trying to provide these things, and for the most part, we've been able to do that. There's some schools who just can't afford to put money into these things that need to, because if students don't know how to use it, they're behind the 8 ball, Mike. They
I'm
really.
not giving you my opinion.
No,
one way or
but
the other.
they are, and you know, some of these small school districts, for the cost of some of this stuff, they don't have the money, so it's a rock and a hard place. Absolutely, that stuff's out of date. Okay, I bought my son a computer last year, and now it's like 4 generations gone, so that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing.
Do you believe in internet classrooms?
I think it'd be great.
That would really
Yeah, I do
solve
too.
a lot of the problem.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but I brought that up because
they're
of a reason.
basically this money is being
Yes, it
set
tells you
aside
that.
just to give kids
It tells you that.
kids computers
It
and
says
tablets.
this quickly.
Wow.
Well,
To
90% of them already have
It
them.
tells you right here. Let me print. To provide access to classroom technology and high-speed internet connectivity to equalize opportunities for children to learn, to add classroom space to expand high-quality pre-kindergarten programs, to replace classroom trailers with permanent instructional space, and to install high-tech smart security features in schools.
This stuff should be budgeted, not borrowed. Okay.
I don't think we can afford anymore borrowing, but
Well, this is to borrow the money to do that. That's crazy.
$2 billion.
Right. Right.
Okay, now let me get to our stuff. What we had as number 1 is now, it's on the bottom. There's 5 of them. And there's proposal number 4.
4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Right, just so you know this, so you don't say, wait a minute, that's supposed to be 1 or 2, because who knows? Anyway, you know what the first one is.
We do.
Well, let me read
We
it.
do.
Other people may not, because it's
So
really
the
not number
mayor
1.
will no longer chair the common council meetings, and I'm for that.
I'm for that part of it.
Okay. In addition,
However-
the alderman will choose the presiding officer of the common council from among the aldermen. So that person, whoever it
Right.
is, will go up before the meeting. This is the one that people have a little problem with. God bless you. The mayor will designate the deputy mayor, who may be any resident of the city of Amsterdam eligible to vote.
Another additional personnel that is absolutely
But
unnecessary.
we decided, at least my impression was, there's no pay.
No, you didn't decide anything on that subject whatsoever.
It would be great if there's no pay.
Well, then, you elect these people and you assume, what a stupid word, but you do make it an idea, well, I guess we blew it in the county.
This is a paranoia section, okay?
Paranoia.
This is a paranoia section. We have had, since the city began in 1885, whether you called it the vice president of the common council or the deputy mayor, as it's called under the current charter, same position. The person elected by the common council to be the deputy mayor or vice president of the council, who will serve in the absence of the mayor. Right. Now, this is not a real big controversial thing. It's only controversial if you want to control the power from the grave, for God's sake.
It was to separate totally the 2 branches. That's why it was done. Separated totally.
It's utter nonsense. Where is the problem? What are you fixing here by doing this? All you're doing is creating yet another appointee for the mayor to fill with one of her stooges. Now, come on. Because and it's strictly because she doesn't get along with Diane.
Wait a minute, wait.
Who is
This
the
is
current?
what bothered me. I don't want to get to who's there now. This is written
But
for the future.
that's my point. The point is
Wait.
this proposal was put in because of who's there now, not because it's a great
Well,
idea.
I didn't
in
vote
theory.
for it
I know you
because it
didn't.
was for that. Because my question.
That's
is,
why you have to vote no on the whole
Well, here,
proposition,
let me-
even though the first
can I
half is
continue?
good.
And I don't. And
You
I got to
may.
say this: Peter Califano was on, and I thought he did a really stellar job explaining this. You may not agree with him. I voted mostly no on all of these, except that one I voted aye because I did like the idea of the mayor sitting up, taking over the common council meeting.
I
think
agree
it
with
would
that.
stop all the nonsense. All the
My charter
nonsense would
commission
stop.
agreed with that too,
All right. The thing on this is,
which is why they had to throw the other
and
thing
my
in.
comment was, because we had discussed this a lot, who should it be, blah, blah, blah. And I says, wait a minute. If you elect this individual to this highest position in the city, which we assume is the mayor, even though it is the controller, if you think about it.
Well, it is, but then let's not even get into that.
We don't want to tell them.
Well, they took away a lot of the controller's powers last year. You didn't even notice that in that resolution. In that
They had
charter.
no authority to do it, so the heck with that.
No,
Anyway,
no, the public voted on it last year.
They did.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. Remember when they threw away our method of doing the budget?
Oh, that stuff.
Yeah, but there's 12 other proposals in there that also were in that took
Okay,
power away
let's
from the
get to this,
controller and gave them to the
because we don't
mayor.
have much time. The question is, if you put this person in, you've got to figure they're going to make some common sense to do whatever. Because what else are they going to do? If they're going to mess this up, then they're going to mess everything else up. So you got to realize who you're putting in. You ought to maybe look at who you vote for. That's why I voted for Jim Nicosha.
All right.
Number 5, which is the second. The amendments will create 2 additional aldermen. And we've already discussed all this. People
Right.
like it or
You're,
they
you're in
don't.
favor of it. I'm against it.
Okay. Number 3. This is the stuff that was supposedly going to clarify what Judge Seiss had ruled concerning that. I disagree with this at all.
And it-
I don't
and it
think
doesn't
said a
do
thing
that. It
about
doesn't do that at all.
Doesn't do it
It
at
doesn't
all.
do that at
Vote
all.
no. I'm urging the public to vote no on that. Please vote no on 6. Number 7 is the one about the strong. We have a strong mayor form of government. I didn't like the other stuff that was put in there about the firing, etc. Because remember, I saw what happened.
Right.
Okay, with
Right.
anybody. The last one, which is 8. If anybody votes for this, they better really think twice. This is a way to change the budgetary process to the point where is anything ever going to happen except keeping the money the way it is on a percentage?
Right.
Wrong.
It removes all checks and balances between the Common Council and the mayor. The mayor gets absolute authority to spend.
And they can transfer within if it wasn't
right.
taken. And I said, can you hire somebody? Oh, yeah. Isn't that nice behind everybody's back?
Right.
Do not, please, if you do anything.
It gives the mayor
Vote
power
no
to,
on that
to
last
add all
one.
kinds of
Vote
positions.
no and keep voting no.
Vote
Tell
no
your
across the
neighbors
board.
to vote no.
Vote no across the board. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. No. 3-2.
3-2. Okay.
Also, this is WCSS. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob.
Hi,
Mike McKinney.
Mike McKinney. You have a lot to answer for.
I read the newspaper of Mary's mother 5 days after it was imprinted. That's why I didn't pay my respects. I tried to tell you that when I called you, but we didn't have converse. So I apologize and tell Mary and yourself you have my sympathies. Now,
Thank you.
A couple of things. I agree with you and Michael to vote no across the board.
I don't
on
believe that. I
all
want to
the
vote yes
amendments,
on the first 2
proposed for the city charter.
for the city charter.
I'm voting by absentee ballot. It's in the other room. I haven't mailed it yet. I voted no on all the state constitution amendments, and I voted no on all the city amendments. Now, but just to pick up on Gavin's point on his being in favor of the bond proposal for $2 billion to fund the necessary implementation of electronic and computer technology and internet broadband. Does anyone realize that the legislature, the people elected by everybody in this state, will have no say whatsoever in spending this $2 billion? I checked with our state senator's office a while back when this was first emerging, and I said, who's going to dispense the money? Who's going to have power to divvy up the $2 billion? Will it be the legislature, where the money can go to local school
Hello?
who have voted for the $2 billion? And the answer is no. The governor, one person will have the total.
It's probably his phone.
We're breaking up here.
Break it up, Mr. McKinney. I agree. If that's the case, vote no on that.
Are you there, Michael?
Then it becomes totally political.
Yeah, and who the governor will decide whether or not Amsterdam gets any money and how much Amsterdam gets money. And where do you think the votes are in New York State?
They're sure as heck not in Amsterdam, New York.
They're not in upstate New York. So where do you think the money's going to go?
Whoever I get the most
Okay,
votes.
it's not going to
The
be equally
city.
distributed. And more to the point, they shouldn't be borrowing this money. As Bob said, it should be allocated by local school districts. And the money, if they don't have the money, then the legislature should decide to spend them, to give the money to the district to their assemblyman and senator. This is dangerous. I can't believe it's happening.
It is.
But I have voted no right on every single proposal by the state.
You know what this reminds me of the illustrious bridge which we're going to walk over the Mohawk River with, that we all up here basically voted no, but of course we knew the city would put this through for other reasons, and now we're going to have this wondrous pedestrian bridge, but millions of people are going to come to Amsterdam, and I'm excited.
Well, to pick up on that, the mayor was quoted as saying up at the high school that I think it was 250,000 people were going to come to the city to go walk over the bridge.
Per year.
Huh?
Per year.
Yeah, per year, which begs the question, where's everybody going to park?
My question.
And, but, I'm...
No, they're going to come by train because we're going to have a new station.
Yeah, and by the way, on the new station, which everyone talks about, does this, and I want to ask this publicly right now, at this minute, on October 20th, 2014, does the mayor or a sitting member of the Common Council have a letter from Amtrak saying that they're going to spend the money for a new train station in the middle of the city?
You better ask
I
that
want to know,
question.
do we have a letter of commitment?
Amtrak is not going to spend a dime on the new station. Where did you get the idea that they were spending any money for it? Amtrak doesn't even want a station here.
I understand it, so that's what I'm saying. Where is this railroad station? Who's building this railroad station?
It's going to be paid for by the taxpayers.
Yeah, through what flows through entity?
Well, they're looking for everything. They're looking for state, federal, and if we have to throw in a few bucks locally, we'll have to do it because it's going to be. I did the figures on it a few weeks ago. If you were listening,
let me ask Mr. McKinney a question. This is really a diversion, but don't you think under the charter where they had the Water Advisory Board, remember that this is what they should be concentrating on at our asset to really do something for our community instead of worrying about all the other garbage in a sense and everybody infighting?
Well, let me make 3 quick points. First, to address Bob's point about the appropriation for the train station, federal and state and local. If anyone in the radio station now or in the listening public can tell me whether in the House of Representatives, controlled by the Republican Party, if there is an appropriation in the budget for next fiscal year for this train station, I'd like to know it. If there's an appropriation in the state legislature, I'd like our assemblyman and our senator's office to say yes or no, is there an appropriation in the state budget? And if there is or is not an appropriation in the city budget, I'd like someone to say yes or no. What I'm saying is, I think it's all a hoax. That's my personal opinion. Now, number 2, as far as the pedestrian bridge is concerned and the 250,000 people, I'm absolutely convinced that once the 250,000 people come here, and I'm sure it's so because the mayor said so, they will meet, they'll go across the bridge, they'll go to Herc's Tavern, they'll meet Flip Rocky, and the next year there'll be 5 million coming because Flip is the man. He's an icon. Number 3, I was chairman of the Water Advisory Board in the Perillo administration.
Right.
And I agree with you, Michael. I agree with you 100% that we need to do more with the water. And if I'm telling you that 20 years from now, drinkable water is going to be a very, very more valuable commodity than it is now.
It's going to be oil.
I won't get into the 40-year contract the city signed with the town of Amsterdam.
40 years.
That's done. But I would tend to think that what you could do is you could begin to look at maybe moving it to the east. But again, it's been 30 years since I was involved with that, and bringing in American Waterworks, which had a beautiful proposal to run the city water works.
I found the report, by the way.
Did you find it?
Yes, I did. I found the report. I have it, etc. But anyway, I just want to leave. I want to leave this program with one rumor.
Okay.
Okay, let's just rev this right up.
All right.
And I know that this is such nonsense. There is a rumor going around in the county that a former high mucky-muck elected person in the city of Amsterdam may get a part-time job with the county. But that's a rumor.
What's the part-time job?
I'm going to just see what happens after I put this rumor out.
A high official.
I was never elected to office.
Well, we didn't mention it. It has nothing to do with you.
I'm kidding.
Anyway,
listen, enjoyed listening to you guys. Good show. Bob, I apologize for not reading the recorder on the day that it was published for your mother-in-law's.
Well, it was a very quick thing.
I apologize. I did call you when I read immediately of Uncle Si, so you should know that I tend to do these things when I'm aware of them.
Okay.
Number two, I apologize for not listening to the show when you disclosed this about the railroad station. But so anyway, so my question that I asked the show with no name to do next week is find out if there get all correspondence from all those who are involved in a train station.
Maybe what I should get correspondence on is the emails with all the legislators concerning this stipend. Maybe that would be a good idea. Anyway, Bob, I want to thank you very much for allowing me on.
Thank you, guys.
Right, thanks, Mike.
We want to wish the best of health, as I always did to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Nicosia, for your comments. And Gavin, I gotta look at the school board again.
And we'll be back on Wednesday with more of the show with no name.
What time, Bob?
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock Wednesday, and we'll be back here on Monday from 10 to 12, assuming we don't have any more banks opening. And this is WCSS 1490 on your dial in Amsterdam, New York.